What's up everyone, John Brenton from Techno Buffalo here with a full review for you of the latest flagship phone from Samsung. I can't say their biggest phone because the Mega exists. This is the Galaxy Note 3. Let's go ahead and put it through its paces and see if it's worthy of taking up a very large spot in your pockets. With all my phone reviews, let me give my disclaimer. I use this as my daily driver for 5 days in conjunction with the Galaxy S4 for 3 more days on top of that. Did the review testing both AT&T and Sprint models. Let's go ahead and jump right in and talk about hardware and design. So first, I put a lot of stock in how a phone feels in my hand. I've been really particular about that. And I've given Samsung pretty much plenty of grief for the plastic rounded corners that made their premium devices feel super low range. But just like I can criticize, I can also give credit where it's due, and the subtle change toward a flatter, textured edge makes a huge difference on the Note 3. It's probably the best feeling Sammy device I've tested yet, so hats off to Samsung. More importantly though, it's a sign that Samsung is looking to change its build. So I'm taking it as a very positive sign for their future devices. Hopefully maybe an S5 will come with a similar design structure. So hardware-wise, this thing is pretty much a beast. It's packed to the gill with the latest awesome tech stuff. The flagship here, the heart of the phone, is a 2.3 GHz Snapdragon 800 chip that, as expected, is just crazy fast. The old way of doing reviews where I would see how fast apps opened and that kind of stuff just doesn't work anymore. This phone is blazing fast. Apps open fast, performance in gaming is awesome. Everything just feels really quick. So I don't know if 3 gigs of RAM is overkill, but I never had to worry about doing any app management at all. Usually 2 gigs, which seems crazy anyways, comes standard for flagship Android devices. 3 just seems like extra icing on that delicious cake. You should never have to worry about any app management at all. Things were just buttery smooth and scrolled perfectly. No issue at all when it came to RAM. I can't imagine anything on the phone's gonna use 3 gigs of RAM, but it's kind of nice to have it, right? It's like having a V12. How many chances do you get to actually open that thing up? But it's kind of nice to know you got it. Let's talk about this ginormous, glorious, beautifully seductive Super AMOLED screen that's now a full 1080p, which means 1920 by 1080, and it looks awesome. Pictures pop with really bright colors, darks look really dark, videos look pretty baller, and it's not even so awful in direct sunlight, which means you can still kind of see the screen, but don't plan on reading any sort of long messages at all. So a cool thing here is Samsung added 0.2 inches to the phone without really making the device much bigger at all. So hats off to those engineers. It's almost the same footprint as the Galaxy Note 2 with a bigger screen, which was pretty surprising that they were able to do that. So obviously bezel's got a little thinner and the device just kind of matured. So the back of the phone, it looks like leather with down to the stitches on the side, but is most definitely not. It's the same plastic back Samsung's been using for years, just textured. And perhaps it's psychosomatic, but it really does feel better. Maybe it's just that texture device, I think it's leather, but it still is that same plastic back. So for a device at this price, I really wish Samsung would just include wireless charging right out of the box and not make us pay extra for a backplate that's not even widely available yet. I love wireless charging, Samsung, just give it to me in the box, please. And lastly, with the hardware, because I know you want to know the quadrant score, and listen, I know it's not the most scientific way to benchmark Android apps, but I do use it in every single Android phone I review, so at least it's sort of a sense of how fast or slow a device might perform in a hypothetical set of circumstances. The quadrant score of the Galaxy Note 3 was a pretty whopping 21,300, so boom. So from hardware, let's talk about software. With Samsung devices, there's usually a lot to talk about with the software. It seems like Samsung software's philosophy is just throw more and more and more in there, and maybe the user will find 1 or 2 features that they really like. I do like the shortcuts and the pull down, and the eye tracking is kind of neat, but for every awesome feature that they added here, it's one that really makes you scratch your head. Like, Samsung, what? Like S-Voice. Why have that when Google Search is arguably the best digital assistant around? And it's not an app you can just ignore. If you just hold the button or double tap it, you get S-Voice and it pops up and it makes you use it. Even further, if you want to get a Galaxy Gear, which only works with the Note 3 right now, you have to rely on S-Voice for any sort of voice, and that just didn't make any sense to me. So despite being so UI heavy, there's really zero slowdown at all. This phone feels as fast as a stock Nexus device, and that's both a testament to the insanely awesome processor and RAM combo, as well as the software engineers at Samsung. Usually with previous, heavily skinned device, you could feel a little bit of lag, but zero lag here at all. 3 gigs of RAM and that awesome Snapdragon 800. This thing is an absolute beast. So I know a lot of you buy Note devices for the S Pen, and I just want to be honest, in all honesty, I don't really use it. I tried it enough to know what it does, and it's neat, it's just not my cup of tea. But you might not be like me, And if you are one of the people that like the S Pen, there's a lot to like about it, and this is the best iteration around. First, it's reversible, which is kind of nice, and it's now chocked with way more features. You can do a ton of stuff here with the S Pen. So as soon as you pull it right out of its little S Pen holster, you're greeted with 5 menu options, which are kind of neat. You can access them without ever really having to touch the screen to see what they are. So first, you've got Action Memo, which lets you sort of write a phone number or write down an equation. It'll sort of convert it into something you can actually use. If you write down a number, you can dial the number right from there. It's very handy. Next is Scrapbooker, if you like to sort of keep scrapbooks or draw sort of certain things. It's a great place to keep all that stored. Next is ScreenWrite. That one's pretty obvious. I found that would actually be really handy with maps. Take a picture of Google Maps, write where you want to go, and you can save it. You can do S Finder, which is kind of neat. You could search for all kinds of stuff and just write it out, and it shows up there. And kind of the weirdest one for me is Pen Window. If you select that and you just draw a box on the screen, you get shortcuts to different things, which are kind of neat, but certainly the steps it would take to pull the S Pen out, select that, draw a box, and then select the icon you want. So it can be quicker to just open up the app drawer and select the application there. But it's kind of neat. I did find myself sometimes using it just to scroll through the home page or scroll through web pages without using my finger. It's kind of neat. Again, though, I'm not really a big S Pen guy. But if you're a person that likes that, like to draw on their phone, this is hands down the best iteration of it. So battery, you got a big phone with a big HD screen. This 3200 milliamp hour battery is, much like the phone itself, pretty awesome. I was able to get to the end of the day with about 40%. So let me tell you a little bit about my usage. I think take the phone off the charger around 7:30, depending on the day. Pretty heavy phone usage, maybe, I don't know, 4-ish hours on the phone. It's on Wi-Fi most of the day, whether I'm at home or at the office. Some web browsing, it's pulling in emails about every 5 minutes. Got 2 separate accounts, a lot of social media going on. I don't take it easy on my phones at all. I keep my brightness usually around 75%. I don't keep it on auto. So pretty big testament to that 3200 milliamp hour battery. You won't have any trouble getting through a full day, and if you do some management, probably 2 days, but I always recommend charging it every night. Let's jump into the camera. So Samsung hasn't really talked about it a lot, but there's a 13 megapixel camera on the Note 3 that actually shoots 4K UHD video. Let me just say that again. This little guy right here shoots freaking 4K video. It properly defaults to 1920 by 1080 in the settings, but if you visit the settings option there, you can up it to 3840 by 2160, the resolution that can be displayed on 4K screens, which is just wacky. Obviously though, you can't play the 4K back and 4K quality on the Note 3. I didn't have access to a 4K screen, so I couldn't really test it for you, but it's kind of a nice feature proofing. And if you have a 4K screen and you want to take the best quality video, you can definitely do that here with the Note 3, which is kind of cool. Although of note though, you can't capture photos at the same time recording a video in that mode, just a friendly heads up. 13 megapixel sensor on the back though, when it's not shooting crazy high-res video, it's pretty much the same as the one on the Galaxy S4. So as far as we can tell, pictures look about the same. We have noticed though, it does have some issues with motion blur a lot of the time, and there's a lot of noise and low light shots, but we generally like the camera. If you guys want to see a full gallery of pictures and what they look like, hit the link down below to go to the written review. You can see a full set of how the pictures look like on the Galaxy Note 3. So what's the verdict on the Galaxy Note 3? I love this phone. I love the original version. I love the sequel. And I love the trilogy. And this is the best version of that line. To give it sort of the best endorsement I can, I'm going to use this as my daily driver. TouchWiz is heavy, but it doesn't slow the phone down at all. It works very well. I can ignore the features that I don't want to use. I wish I had wireless charging right out of the box, but that is a very, very, very small gripe. They made the phone feel better. They improved the screen, everything about it. It makes it a great quality phone. The phone gets a really solid 9. It's one of the best phones on the market, and to get that 9.5 and 10, everything has to be perfect. We're just shy of perfection, but being right next to perfection, about as best as I can give a phone, you're really not going to regret picking up a Galaxy Note 3. It's probably my favorite device so far the past few months. It's definitely going to be gracing my pocket for the foreseeable future. So what do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? I want to hear your thoughts. Leave it in the comments right down below. We'll see what you guys have to say. Until then, I'm John Ranger from Techno Buffalo. I'll see you next video.
What's up everyone, it's Ashley. Thanks so much for watching that most recent video. If you enjoyed it, please click on the word subscribe right underneath me to get tons more tech videos from us here at Techno Buffalo. We have got unboxings, comparisons, reviews, recaps, and everything else you can think of here on the channel. If you're in the mood for more technology, just click right over here to check out some of our most recent videos. See you next time, humans.